Okay, so decided to come on back. There's not really much to keep me from broadcasting right now. There's nothing going on and I'm bored. So what I've done is I've gotten a little bit more solid information with respect to statewide shutdowns. The first thing I want to do is I want to share a list of states that have instituted lockdowns. So as of today, the following states have shelter orders in place as they're being called: Ohio, Louisiana, Delaware, California, New York, New Jersey, Illinois, Connecticut, and now Michigan. All have instituted statewide lockdowns. As yet, the state of Washington has not. But as I commented in my first broadcast about an hour ago, I anticipate that happening. And I also opined as to the character and the style of Governor Inslee. In that spirit, I'd like to share with you an open letter that was written to Inslee and published about 2 hours ago. So, this is an open letter to Governor Jay Inslee from Rick Hicks, who is Teamsters Local 174 Secretary Treasurer. Okay. As you know, and this is me beginning to read this open letter. As you know, I am the Secretary Treasurer of Teamsters Local 174 in Seattle and the President of Joint Council 28, which includes all of Washington, all of the state of Alaska, and the panhandle of northern Idaho. I am writing this letter in a moment of inner turmoil, for I have supported you for years in your role as the governor for Washington's working people. However, recent events have made it clear that your support for working people stops short of taking the bold and decisive actions that are needed to keep them safe, a statewide lockdown/shelter-in-place order. Okay. Mr. Hicks continues, as COVID-19 spread through our state, we turn to our leaders to protect us and guide us away from harm. However, your lack of leadership in refusing to implement a lockdown shelter-in-place order across our state puts our members at risk, and I will not stand for it. Teamsters members are critical to a functioning supply chain. Our members bring groceries to store shelves. They deliver groceries to people's homes. They deliver UPS packages containing critical supplies and medicine to homes and businesses. They work in healthcare and law enforcement. They work in sanitation, just to name a few of the essential industries in which our members are employed. For every day that goes by without a lockdown order, these hardworking members who keep our society running are put at greater and greater risk. Nothing is more important to me than protecting my members and their families' safety. If we want them to continue to perform their jobs and keep our society functioning, we need them to be healthy. And we have already seen in other cities, states, and countries that one of the best ways to keep people healthy is to implement a lockdown and prevent any and all unnecessary interactions between people. It is completely unacceptable that you are refusing to take this step. I have supported you because I believed it was in the interests of the labor community to support politicians that at least appear to care about our issues. However, in this moment of crisis, it no longer matters what you say. The only thing that matters is what actions you take. And by refusing to protect our members with a lockdown order, you are demonstrating exactly how little working people mean to you. This is a time of crisis where every minute counts. If you care at all about working people and their health and safety, you need to institute a lockdown shelter-in-place order immediately. All eyes are on you right now, and they are all looking for leadership. As a young man growing up, my military father always preached to me that you can take the lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way. You know, I was just watching the movie Idiocracy yesterday, and that line appears several times in that movie. Interesting. What choice will you make, he goes on. On behalf of our Teamster members, Rick Hicks, Secretary Treasurer, Teamsters Local 174, President, Joint Council 28. Well, see, that's the kind of peer pressure I'm talking about. Either you implement an order to restrict people's ability to gather, or you're a bad leader who doesn't care about our health. I'm all the more convinced that this is going to happen. I think that if the governor sees this letter, or if someone reads it to him, that it's going to tip the balance. It's probably one of many such sentiments that are being directed towards the governor right now. So that's the sentiment that's out there in the state of Washington. And again, given that all those states, what was that, nine or 10 states that instituted these things, it's all but inevitable in my eyes right now that that's what we're going to be looking at. Well, as I mentioned earlier, the National Guard has been mobilized under Title 32 in this state, in New York, and in California. So this is a story from militarytimes.com from about 15 hours ago. So that would have put it after the announcements made at that joint press, or that press availability at the White House. As the number of coronavirus cases increases in the United States, President Trump Sunday night ordered National Guard troops in 3 states to operate under a status that allows them to be managed by state governors, but be paid by the federal government. Quote, "We want to win this war with as few deaths as possible," Trump said on Sunday afternoon. He continues, "Today I am announcing action to help New York, California, and Washington to ensure that the National Guard can effectively respond. The National Guard, these are tremendous people, fully on alert. It has been activated. The move will make it easier for states already facing increasing costs as a result of the pandemic to call on the National Guard if needed to help deal with the problems caused by COVID-19. There have been more than 30,000 coronavirus cases in the United States, with at least 400 deaths." This is according to CNN. Trump's initial order called for National Guard troops in the 3 hardest hit states, New York, California, and Washington, to operate under what is called Title 32. Under this federalized status, Guard troops will still report to the governor, but the government, the federal government, I presume, picks up the cost. Normally, it is a 75-25 split, with states picking up the smaller portion, but Trump waived that split and the federal government will absorb the entire cost. More states are expected to seek Title 32 as the need arises, Air Force General Joseph L. Lengyel, chief of the National Guard Bureau, told reporters on Sunday night. As of this morning, governors across all 50 states, Puerto Rico, Guam, and the U.S. Virgin Islands, and Washington, D.C., have each mobilized components of their Army and Air National Guard to assist in their state's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking to reporters via telephone conference, Lengyel again tamped down rumors that the Guard troops will be used to enforce martial law. Get the military's most comprehensive news. Blah. Okay, that's a link. There is no truth to this rumor that people are conspiring, that governors are planning, that anyone is conspiring to use the National Guard, mobilized or not, Title 32 or state, to do military action to enforce shelter-in-place or quarantines. The move is important, said Lengyel, because governors and adjutant generals know the best use of what's needed in their states. This will help with the unity of effort and speed of responses. Ooh, that was not a coronavirus sneeze, I swear to God. Well, so we have Title 32 in the state of Washington, 2 more states, and then many other states hoping for the same, with the 25% provision being waived and the federal government picking up all costs, and more reassurances that this is not a prelude to martial law. Well, I have more information here with respect to the World Health Organization as being described as a corrupt organization with Marxist ties to the communist government of China. So the story I have here is from nationalreview.com, and this goes all the way back to the 14th of June in 2017. So this puts it less than a month after Dr. Tedros was elected as their director general. So the reason I'm on this particular tangent is because I came across a story which essentially accuses the World Health Organization, which is an entity within the United Nations, of having spread Chinese propaganda. The propaganda being an attempt to cast doubt on the seriousness and the contagion of COVID-19, and also to shower effusive praise on the Communist government of China for its transparency, even though that's emerged to be a complete lie. That in fact the Chinese government was attempting to obscure the true nature of this virus, and moreover their own culpability in how it has spread. By the way, the figures that I looked at this morning show that in China they are looking at somewhere around 81,000 cases. 81,000 in China. That's insane. So I just wanted to take a little bit of time to look more closely at the World Health Organization, at its Director General, and sort of opine a little bit in terms of how submissive they are to the Communist government of China. As I said, while I was looking through Google to download and print facts and figures this morning, the health guidance that was on Google's homepage was not information released by the CDC. It was not the 15-day provisions released by the White House, but rather it was the information released by the World Health Organization that was being advertised and amplified the most. I'm not suggesting at all that whatever provisions and safety precautions they're promoting aren't exactly the right thing to do, but it's interesting that Google seems to be deferring more to an organization which is rife with accusations of corruption rather than our own country's Centers for Disease Control. That's something to me that is worth paying attention to. So again, this is from June 14th, 2017, and this is from the nationalreview.com. The World Health Organization, the troubled United Nations Health Agency, has just elected a controversial new Director General. The choice should disturb taxpayers, members of Congress, and the administration. We'll soon hear condemnation of the administration's plan for steep cuts in funding of the international organizations as proposed by the White House's budget blueprint. Cuts to the World Health Organization will draw dire warnings about global pandemics and cries for America to do more. Global public health is, indeed, critical to American interests at home and abroad, and the United States government is the largest contributor to the World Health Organization's approximately $2 billion budget. However, like other United Nations subsidiaries, the World Health Organization is plagued by persistent and wasteful spending, utter disregard for transparency, pervasive incompetence, and failure to adhere to even basic democratic standards. None of these problems are new, but they are getting worse. And the latest developments underscore the need for tough love in the form of responsible stewardship of our largesse. The May 23rd election of Ethiopian politician Tedros, I'm going to give this one a try this time, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, I don't know if that's right at all, to head the World Health Organization in the latest evidence that reform won't come from the World Health Organization itself. Dr. Tedros, as he likes to be called, he has a PhD in community health, is a leader of Ethiopia's brutal minority party, the Tigray People's Liberation Front, a wing of the Marxist-rooted Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front. He served the violently repressive regime as Minister of Foreign Affairs from 2012 to 2016 after a stint as health minister. Tedros was reportedly elected with 133 of 185 votes in a third-round secret ballot, handily defeating the eminently qualified British candidate David Nabarro. Prior to Tedros' election, the Associated Press published an expose on the World Health Organization's already infamously lavish spending on first-class airfare and five-star hotels. The alternative press obtained documents showing that the World Health Organization routinely has spent about $200 million a year on travel expenses, more than what it doles out to fight some of the biggest problems in public health, including AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria combined. This follows similar scandals that prompted a 2015 seminar on accountability, in which the World Health Organization finance chief Nick Jeffries said that World Health Organization employees can sometimes manipulate a little bit their travel. He admitted that World Health Organization couldn't be sure that staff travel was booked cost effectively or was even warranted. Ian Smith, executive director of the Director General's office, repeatedly said that the agency often did little to prevent abuses. Moreover, the $803 million World Health Organization has paid for travel since 2013 does not include costs often covered by host countries seeking to curry favor, which are off World Health Organization's books. Don't expect improvement from Director General-elect Tedros, who stated in his victory speech to health ministers that his central priority will be universal health coverage, presumably at the expense of World Health Organization donors. As to the spending scandal, he said any travel costs, as long as they can be justified because of the program, it's fine. He refused to state whether he'd change rules. In the same meeting, the World Health Organization Assembly voted itself a $28 million, or a 3% increase, in assessed contributions from taxpayers for Tedros' 2018 and 2019 budgets. Unlike the case with voluntary contributions from governments, World Health Organization considers assessed contributions to be the highest quality funding because they are fully flexible and can be allocated to any type of work, just the way World Health Organization likes it, without strings. Without a hint of irony, Tedros proclaimed that this election has been unprecedented in that it brought transparency to the organization and even greater legitimacy to the Director General. Transparency has never been the World Health Organization's strong suit. Consider the World Health Organization's Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, which has its own dedicated budget beyond operational support from the World Health Organization itself. The FCTC develops tobacco policy for about 90% of the world's population. At the last two FCTC biennial meetings held in Moscow and New Delhi, the World Health Organization group ejected credentialed media members of the public before deliberations began. And then it goes on to indicate that the person who wrote this article was among those rejected. At last year's ostensibly transparent meeting, the credentialed American journalist suffered bruises on his arms and shoulders while being pulled out of his chair and dragged out of the meeting by 6 guards. In advance of the 2016 meeting, the FCTC released an anonymously written e-cigarette report for delegates considering rules that would have effectively banned the safer alternative to smoking. The scientifically flawed report was criticized by leading tobacco control experts for poisoning these harm-reducing products as a threat rather than an opportunity. It's no wonder the FCTC goes to such lengths to ensure secrecy. Its work cannot withstand scrutiny. The president's December 26th tweet, that would have been at the end of last year, was a rare understatement in which he said, "The United Nations has such great potential, but right now it's just a club for people to get together, talk, and have a good time." That's pretty much the bulk of that story. So again, the World Health Organization has a bit of a tarnished reputation with respect to its ethics, to its transparency. Just to bring it back full circle, again, they have been essentially lambasted as helping spread the propaganda of the Communist Chinese government in response to the outbreak at the very beginning, the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. And Google is drawing the priority attention to their guidelines and to their statements, not the CDC, and not the guidance issued from the task force at the White House. Food for thought. And as more and more states issue statewide lockdowns, there are cities here within the state of Washington, I believe Everett, I believe the Seattle mayor has instituted one, although I haven't confirmed that yet. And we have extremely strongly worded letters, open letters being written to the governor to urge him to take this step. Some higher up in local unions. That's where we're standing right now. And as developments come out, I'm going to comment on them further. Till then, be good to each other.